Hello, I'm Juan Davies, Chief Creative Officer at KCT and PBS SoCal, and I'm joined by the newsroom of KPCC and LAist on a daily reporter roundup. And it's great to see you again, Adrian Hill.
I'm glad to be back.
Let's start today with new efforts from state lawmakers to protect tenants who are struggling to pay the rent. Aaron, you have the details.
Yeah, the governor signed this bill late last night, and the law went into effect immediately. It bars evictions of tenants over unpaid rent from March through August of this year, as long as they sign paperwork declaring that they lost income due to COVID-19. Going forward, tenants will have to pay at least 25% of their monthly rent and all the back rent that they still owe, but that back rent will be converted into civil debt, and landlords won't be able to evict them over it. Meanwhile, landlords can now evict tenants over issues not related to their rent, which wasn't possible before. The thing to know about this bill is that it was kind of a compromise, and it's really only intended to be a stopgap measure to get us to January. Lawmakers have said repeatedly that they need action from the federal government to stave off a wave of evictions, and we're just hearing that the CDC might be implementing a nationwide eviction moratorium.
We have other news out of Sacramento. The state assembly's passed a bill which would exempt freelance writers, musicians, photographers, other freelancers from AB 5. And David's been following that story.
That's right. And remember, AB 5 is the state's new gig worker law. And when it went into effect earlier this year, many freelancers said they lost work because the law does make it a lot harder for them to keep working as independent contractors rather than employees. Well, last night, state lawmakers passed a bunch of exemptions for workers in many different fields. So, for instance, freelance writers no longer have a cap on how many articles they can write for a single publication each year. Translators got an exemption, and there's a broad carve out for workers in the music industry. Many musicians felt this current law was unworkable because, for instance, it requires venues to put an artist on the payroll just to play a one-night gig. Many musicians said that this was just a threat to their ability to collaborate with each other. You know, it could end up in situations where you hire a bass player to play a few tracks on your EP, and you would have to, make them eligible for workers' compensation, unemployment insurance, sick leave, things like that. There were no exemptions for rideshare drivers, though. The state is still pressuring Uber and Lyft to make their workers eligible for benefits like a minimum wage, overtime pay, and health coverage. The bill now goes to Governor Newsom's desk, and it'll take effect the moment he signs it into law.
Sheriff's deputies shot and killed a man in the South LA Westmont neighborhood on Monday. Frank has been reporting on the death and the questions that it's raising.
Sheriff's officials say deputies shot 29-year-old Dejan Kizzy after he allegedly punched one of them in the face and dropped a bundle of clothing that included a gun. It happened around 3 p.m. while they were trying to stop Kizzy on a bike in a working-class neighborhood tucked at the intersection of the 110 and 105 freeways. The shooting immediately sparked protests, not as big as we've seen elsewhere, obviously, but many with Black Lives Matter questioned why deputies stopped Kizzy in the first place and why they opened fire when, by their own admission, he had dropped the gun. Now, body cam footage would be handy, of course, but alas, the sheriff's department has delayed getting body cams for years. Deputies will finally start getting them in October.
And finally today, the Santa Monica Unified School District is laying off dozens of staff members in its early education and child care programs. Mariana's been looking into that.
So usually these programs include preschool and infant and toddler program and childcare before and after school for about 1,000 kids. But after early education went virtual, enrollment plummeted. And this year there's about 200 kids signed up. And this has totally disrupted how the district funds these programs. The state does chip in some money to provide services for kids from low-income families, but they're really reliant on tuition to make ends meet. The board has said it plans to open in-person programs and rehire staff as soon as it's safe and they have funding to do so, but it's really unclear right now when that will be.
Thank you, Mariana. And thank you all at the KPCC and LAist newsroom. And thank you for tuning in. Stay healthy, take care of your family, your neighbor, and we will see you tomorrow.